Thank you, Kelsey, for getting that figured out. So we are going to talk about what's new with IQ Panel 2, specifically the 2.2 software that is now available for the panel. So if you've got an IQ Panel 2 in your home, you've got one on your desk, you've got one in your customers' homes, you can go and check for a software update, and this software with these features are able to go on that panel right now, okay? So the first one we're going to talk about is Live View. That's the ability to view Alarm.com video cameras on the 7-inch touchscreen. The next one is Live Answer. That's the ability to view the Skybell video doorbell and interact with the person on the front porch from the panel. The next one is the Easy Install Wizard. And then the last one is dual SRF support that's coming out in the new IQ Panel 2 Plus, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. So let's start with Live View. Live View is the ability to view cameras on the HD touchscreen. So you can do this with the new Alarm.com 522 camera, as well as their 721 or 722, I think it's 722 outdoor camera. There's a couple other models as well. You can see here, there's the ADC 722, the ADC VC 825, ADC VC 826, the VC 725, the VC 726. All can be viewed, and that is view only. You'll also notice that the 521 and 521, what is that, 522, excuse me, 521 and 522 are also able to have what we call live talk. So that will include two-way audio. So let me give you a couple examples of this. I have several cameras throughout my house. The first camera I have is on my front porch. Now I've got a Skybell, but I also have a camera on the porch pointing towards the driveway. So at any given time from my app or from the panel, I can go and look at the driveway. I can look at the front porch. I can look at either one of those. I've got a live view of both of those. I've also got a camera on the back porch pointing towards the swing set. So I can now see the kids swinging or jumping on the trampoline, make sure they're doing okay, make sure, everything's going okay in the backyard. I've also got a camera downstairs in the basement area pointed kind of towards the TV. So I can now see, what are my kids watching? Are they okay? Are they playing nicely together? And that indoor camera that I have, the 522, has talk. So from my phone or from the panel, if I wanted to say, hey kids, change the channel, you shouldn't be watching that, or hey kids, stop fighting, or hey kids, it's time for dinner, I could do that right from the panel. Nice and handy. I've got that same 522 camera upstairs as well. So pointing towards my living room, kitchen area. Now the panel is in that area, so there's not much point in me doing a live view of myself, but I can view it from my mobile app, which is kind of nice. So those are the cameras I have throughout the house, and allows me and my family to be able to do certain things either from the panel or from the mobile device. So it's pretty nice. We have a new video that will be released very shortly on our YouTube page as well as on our website and dealer portal. We're going to show that to you right now.
Hey, how are you? Good, how are you? Good. Hey, I got some cookies and wanted to bring them by. Perfect, I'll let you in. Perfect.
All right, so nice short little video. That'll be a nice addition to your sales teams. You can add it to your website. You can use it on social media. Again, that'll be available on YouTube as well as on our dealer portal for download here shortly. Got a couple good questions here. Eric's asking, does Live View also work with the Alarm.com compatible cameras from Axis? It's a very good question, and I appreciate you asking that, Eric. I'm going to go back on our presentation just a little bit and show you this. These cameras here, I believe it's the VC 825, the 826, as well as the 725 and 726. I believe those are the ones you're referring to. But check your model numbers because that's what's gonna queue it up. I'm not familiar with the model numbers of all the Axis cameras that are out there, but I know that these are the ones that Alarm.com has given us access to for the panel. So double check those numbers and hopefully that helps. I know that I think at least one of them is that new dome camera that they have. So, but not being as familiar with the Alarm.com cameras, I can't answer that perfectly. So good question. Next question from Micah. Will the new ADC 622 camera be supported in the future? That's the new indoor Bluetooth speaker camera. That's a very good question, and it's a better question for Alarm.com. So I would reach out to your Alarm.com rep, make sure that it is. It's my understanding that with Live View, because really Live View and this feature here is managed by Alarm.com and our teams in conjunction with each other. It's not so much us adding support for it, but it's Alarm.com and our team together working to add support for it. So if that's a camera that's important for you to be able to do Live View on, make sure that you mention that to your Alarm.com rep so they can pass that along to their people, and we'll do the same on our side as well. But I believe the plan is to continue adding with each new version of software, to continue adding more and more support for more cameras. So the goal here being that every camera will eventually be supported. Now I know that some of the older cameras that Alarm.com has won't be supported and may never be supported just based on the architecture of them, but most of the cameras that are current and future cameras are planned to be added to Live View. So excellent question there. Thank you very much. Wayne Cox asks a really good question. Can Live View be visible from the secondary keypad? And he's referring specifically to the IQ Remote. If you go on our website and look at the keypads there, you can see IQ Remote is the secondary touchscreen built exclusively for the IQ Panel 2. It mirrors the IQ Panel 2's interface in almost every way. You can do lights, locks, thermostats. You can see the weather. It turns into a photo frame when it's not being used. It's a really, really nice device. However, the processor on that particular device is not able to be able to stream live video to it. We've tried it and it just didn't work very well. And so we are not going to be pushing out Live View to those particular devices. However, we are working on a new device, a new IQ Remote in the future that will have enough processor speed to be able to handle Live View, because that seems to be a very popular feature so far. And we know it's going to be very popular for your customers in the future. So watch for that later this year, a new version of the IQ Remote that will allow you to be able to do Live View on it and have the ability to do that. So very exciting there. Thank you for asking the question, Wayne. James Beckstein wants to know, what about other manufacturers' Wi-Fi cameras? Really good question. And the problem with that question is those other Wi-Fi cameras are not integrated into the ecosystem. In order for a camera to appear on the screen, it needs to be an Alarm.com camera, because the only thing an end user needs to do is go into their account and say, click a little button that says, allow this camera to do it. There isn't a way to pair a Wi-Fi camera directly with our panel, and we don't allow services that are outside of the Alarm.com and Qualys ecosystem inside our ecosystem for security purposes. We purposely don't want anybody who hasn't taken the security protocols and procedures in place to make sure that all of their ports are closed, that everything is accurate and working the way it should work from a security standpoint into our ecosystem. So we're very protective of that, because again, the first thing this needs to be is a security panel. And for that reason, only the Alarm.com cameras have passed muster on that. We are not currently letting any other cameras. Now, whether or not that changes in the future, we'll see. I think that depends on the cameras. It depends on our partnership with Alarm.com and how we, Alarm.com and all of us together, integrate and accept new cameras into it. You heard the question earlier about access cameras. Those cameras are now being accepted into the Alarm.com ecosystem as part of this process. So yes, there is a possibility that stuff like that could happen in the future, but currently supported is only the ones that you can see on the screen today. So thanks for asking the question. Kevin asks, what is the lens for the normal outside camera? Unfortunately, that's probably a little more technical than I am prepared to present. I'm not sure what you mean by what is the lens. Even if I knew, I probably wouldn't have the specs for that. It's probably a better question for your Alarm.com representative. I do know that on my camera, it's got night vision IRs, and it's got some pretty decent video. I think it's a 720p video stream. So hopefully that helps you with your question a little bit. Berenice says, the panel we have is live for you for the Alarm.com Skybell. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is our next slide, and we are going to dive right into that. Live Answer is the next feature. So those of you that participated so far, thank you very much. We really do appreciate that. Live Answer is the ability to answer your door from the 7-inch touchscreen. You can see a picture of my lovely hand there, touching the screen, talking to Kelsey out there on the front porch. And Kelsey's hopefully bringing me some cookies, or that's what you did for Ashley. Yeah. Yeah, she's bringing me, she said Rice Krispie treats with chocolate chips in them. Some kind of s'mores Rice Krispie. So I've heard, and I don't want to get off subject here, but I've heard that the secret of making Rice Krispie treats with extra marshmallow chunks is After you're finished with the Rice Krispie treats, you add the marshmallows in right at the very end. I've tried multiple times and it always just melted. So that's the secret. So in case you're wondering. So live answer, live answer is the ability to answer the IQ panel, answer the video doorbell, and it could be the Skybell Slim or the Skybell HD from the panel's HD screen. And the interface looks and feels exactly like the one you have on your phone. So it feels just like the mobile experience. Imagine for a second how that's going to work in your home. Okay, well, you think, well, I've got my phone, I don't need that. But not everyone in your home has the Alarm.com app, right? If the doorbell rings at my house, I could answer it. My wife could answer it. But my 13-year-old son, Jake, he can't answer the door unless he goes to the physical door. Okay, which means that now I'm asking children to go to the door for me, which is fine. That's what we've been doing for years. But imagine how much safer he is if he answers the door from the panel, especially if mom and dad are not home. What about any of the other kids? What about guests staying in your home or stopping over? It adds that extra layer of security that says, hey, if you want to answer the door, you don't have to walk all the way up. If you want to pretend you're not home, a lot of people have these video doorbells now. So when people come to the door, they halfway expect a video doorbell type answer. You could be anywhere in the world. And so the ability to say, oh, well, yeah, I'm not home right now, sorry, to someone who you don't want to be talking to, they don't know whether you're talking remotely or you're talking from the safety of the inside of your house. The other thing I like about it is the ability to lock and unlock doors and the ability to arm and disarm security system from there. So let's say you answer the door and you realize, oh man, that's someone creepy and my door's unlocked and my, security system's disarmed. You can change that. If that's someone that you want to let in, you can let them in right there. We've got a quick little video we're going to show you. Again, similar animation to one we showed just a moment ago. Hopefully this will help illustrate these points.
Hey, how are you? Good, how are you? Good. Hey, I got some cookies and wanted to bring them by. Perfect, I'll let you in. Perfect.
So hopefully that helped illustrate some of the points that we were talking about a moment ago. We've got some good questions in here. John asks, if the Skybell image goes to the keypad, does it still go to the phone as well? Really good question, John. Thanks for asking that. The answer is not simultaneously. So it's not like I could pull up my phone and be looking at the doorbell, and then you could also be looking on the panel, and we could both be talking to Kelsey at the same time. It's one or the other. If I go to my phone and I activate that, it will disconnect the panel, and vice versa. If I was answering from the panel and I click it over to my phone, it's going to cut that stream. So it's only going to stream to one device at a time. So that and I personally haven't tested this, so I would need to test this myself to see if does it automatically cut off the stream or if it says it simply say the video doorbell is not available. But it's a very, very good question. Next question from Dean is, will we be able to trigger the Skybell to turn on a light? And I think what you're asking, Dean, and correct me if, clarify if this is not what you're saying. You're saying, hey, if the doorbell rings, can you have the light turn on automatically? So let's say you've got a rule on your system that says, and this would be an Alarm.com rule you'd create, that says, when Skybell rings, turn on light and leave on for 15 minutes or leave on indefinitely or things like that. And I had a similar rule on my IQ doorbell. It's a device that we sold with our first generation panel. I think we still sell them with IQ Panel 2. Before the whole Skybell launch and before this became tremendously popular, we would have this little doorbell device installed inside the doorbell unit in the home. And you could create a rule on Alarm.com that says, when doorbell rang after 5 p.m., and I didn't want it to do before then because there's no point in turning on a light before then, but when doorbell rang after 5 p.m., turn on porch light. And that way it would illuminate whoever was on the porch, and then we could, have that visual cue. So I believe that rule still stands. I believe you still can do that with alarm.com. I've not personally tried to implement that rule into my thing because I've got one of our smart lights on my front porch. And with our smart lighting, we have our lights turned on automatically when it starts getting dark. And so that light turns itself on at dusk and turns itself back off again at dawn. So I don't have a need for a doorbell triggered light because I want that light on all the time at night, just for safety, keep people away from my porch. But I believe that is still a rule that you can set up with alarm.com and go on there if you wanted to do it that way. So absolutely. And Dean, you just looked like you just corrected that. I did get it correct. So thank you for clarifying that. Excellent. Let me keep looking here. Looks like I got some other good questions. When you say at a time, is that per ring or per device has the option activated on it? Good question, Robert. So what you get is when the doorbell rings, when someone goes up and presses the physical doorbell, you get that notification on your phone that says the doorbell's ringing. You also get a similar notification on the panel. It'll pop up and say doorbell ringing. And so when that happens, you can choose to answer it from whichever location you want. If you choose to answer it from the panel, of course, that stream is going to initiate between the SkyBell and the panel. And then if you tried to initiate that from the phone, that's when it either would say it's not going to work or it would hang up on your panel stream, if that makes sense. But you do get a notification on both devices, and you would just need to choose which one you're doing. There have been a couple times where my wife has answered the phone, and you can, this is akin to having two phones. So imagine you have a smartphone and your companion has a smartphone, and they both have the alarm.com app. They both get a doorbell ring notification, and you both answer it at the same time. Which one actually gets the stream? I believe it's a first come, first serve type thing where the first person to do it. So it's a race to see who answers it first and gets that stream, or maybe who's got the better bandwidth. It's the same thing here. This is basically just plugged into that same ecosystem, that same behavior. So whether mom is answering it from the panel at home, dad is answering it from his phone at work, or your teenage son is answering it from his phone from school, all three would basically be a race to see who's going to get to that stream first. But it's a better question for alarm.com to find out who gets that first, or maybe even to test it out yourself and see. I personally have not tested that out to see which one goes, so I can't answer it as effectively as perhaps I would like to. So, but thank you for asking the question. Here's another good question from Mike. Does the panel camera show as a viewable live stream in the alarm.com environment? Really good question, Mike. And the answer is not yet. It is on the roadmap. We are working with alarm.com to get that working. We wanted to get SkyBell working first because we knew that was a camera that people are really, really getting excited about. And a lot of customers are saying yes to buying your system because of that camera. So we are doing that first, and we've gotten that working, and it's in soft launch right now and seems to be working just great. And as we continue working on that, another part of that process is getting the panel camera itself to now push up to the cloud and be able to be streamed to your mobile device. And that is something that alarm.com would need to add support for in their mobile app. And we've asked them to. It's something our teams are working on together. It is something that we think is a very valuable thing because, as you know, every single panel comes with a camera, which means if you're able to give them one free camera, that's a nice value add that's going to help build value in what you're doing with your customer today. So very good question. Thank you very much. You also asked a second question, Mike, and you asked, are PowerG outdoor motion camera images available at the panel or alarm.com? Good question. I believe you're referring to the PowerG motion sensor, and that would only be compatible with the IQ Panel 2 Plus, which is coming soon. I personally have not played around with that. I've seen some demos of the PowerG motion sensor, image sensor, taking pictures and pushing them to the panel, and I've seen them on the panel. What I have not done is seen whether or not they're available on alarm.com. So I know that when the images are captured, they're stored as part of the disarm photos, and I've seen that. But that's something that we'll address more as we dive into IQ Panel 2 in future webinars. So good questions. Got another question here. Dave's asking, when is IQ Panel 2 Plus coming to distribution? We'll get to that in just a minute there, Dave. Thank you very much for asking that, and that is something that we will talk about a bit. So the next feature we want to talk about is the Easy Install Wizard. Now, from an install wizard standpoint, the panel already was really easy to install. We could do these things, you could learn it. In fact, anybody who's on the call today can testify to this. If you've learned a sensor into a panel, you know how easy it is to do. It's very, very simple. But what it didn't do is there was a lot of steps, and we included inside every single panel a quick guide. And it showed you, hey, go here first, go there next, and you were navigating through the menus, and it was pretty easy to navigate. I think we've done a very good job making a very appified experience for our panel, especially the installation process. But what we realized was that there wasn't always as much consistency as perhaps we wanted. The Pro channel was telling us, hey, this is nice, but we want to be faster. We want more consistency. You and your dealers were telling, dealers like you and your technicians were telling us, hey, one of my new technicians has to be taught where to go and what to do, and he has to memorize the pathways and things. It'd be nice to just have one thing that would make it easy for everyone. So the Easy Install Wizard was specifically designed so it would work for anyone to use. So, and we'll talk about DIY in just a moment here, but we said, hey, let's create a wizard that allows a dealer to give this to his technician and really make it easy to install everything. So upon startup, this wizard pops up, and you can see the little message there, let's get started by using our Easy Installation Wizard. Make sure your panel's plugged in before proceeding, and you press start. So very, very simple language. It's all touches and feels, touches and swipes. And I'm going to take you through some sequences of the of the Easy Install Wizard. And again, when I say DIY, this doesn't mean that, and I think there's this stigma with DIY that, professional dealers say, well, DIY is coming to take over my business and steal business from me. I personally disagree, and this is why. I believe that every dealer has an opportunity to create DIY sales for themselves. I think the more tech savvy customers become, which a lot of especially younger millennial and younger type customers are entering the market and buying security panels, they like the idea of a DIY system. In fact, I've got some stats I'll share with you in just a minute about that. But it gives them options. If you think about your ability to grow and to scale, just think for a minute about all the 3G accounts that need to be upgraded to LTE. You've got a lot of installs on your plate. You've got a lot of people who want to be handheld, want someone to come in and professionally configure it for them. If you happen to have one or two customers that say, I can do it myself, I'd like to save the $50 you were going to charge me for installation, or the $99 you're going to charge me for installation, and let me do it myself, I think there's a market for that. I think you could potentially capture more customers by saying, hey, you can choose. Do you want a pro install, or do you want a DIY install? Many of you have been going off of the we'll install it for free model for years, knowing that you're semi-losing money on that until the customer's been paying for a while. Imagine now saying the free install option is DIY, and the pro install option requires money to be captured. So again, there's lots of great things here, and it just gives you extra options to be able to say, hey, this is easy enough and simple enough that the customer themselves could install it. They can put the sticky tape up. They can go through the wizard and go through the steps and do this. It allows you to be faster. You could be able to get to those customers quicker. If your installs right now are a week out or 2 weeks out, and I've heard some dealers are so busy in the security and smart home market right now that they're anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks out on installs. Now, granted, we all know that if we hire more technicians, we can get that number down and things like that. But imagine on those few customers that are willing to be able to do a DIY install, that you could instead configure a panel in your warehouse, mail it out to them, and let that customer do it themselves. It creates some extra speed, and it allows you to scale. Imagine technicians in your warehouse being able to sit down and pre-configure panels and sensors, drop them in a box to be mailed out, and now you've got the ability to do a whole lot more. Instead of a technician spending his time in traffic, he's now spending his time configuring 5 or 6 systems at a time. So again, don't dismiss DIY as leeching off your business, because it's definitely not that. It is an option for you to be able to do something for your customer if they choose to do it. I think there's still a lot of people, millennials included, who want a pro install, and you can sell the benefits of that. You can show them the benefits of that. There is, however, some people who are going to want a DIY install, and the fact that you have a panel now that can do that will give you the option to do that. So before we go into questions, I want to show you some of the screens in the DIY install. So here's the welcome screen, for example, and I click start, and it searches for networks. Let me find the network that's mine. I click on Qualsys, I type in my password, there it goes, And now it's going to connect. Okay, it's connected successfully. And then it's going to go through this series of checks. It's going to check that the AC power is connected. It's going to check that the battery is connected. It's going to check that the Z-Wave card is installed and activated. It's going to check if there's a PowerG card, if there's, LTE working, and it's going to let you know which carrier and signal type it has. It's going to check for dual path and test that connection. It's going to check for any software updates. And if there's an update available, it's going to download it for you. And then it's going to automatically restart the system. And you can touch restart to do it automatically, or it just does it. And then when it restarts, it's going to come back and the update's going to be complete. Here's your software going. It's going to finish up and make sure everything's done. And your systems check is complete and it's all working great. So you literally had to connect Wi-Fi, and then it just did a whole bunch of this stuff that you normally had to do yourself manually, all for you. Then next is adding sensors. And if you've already pre-configured sensors or the sensors are already in the system, then it's going to say, hey, we found these sensors, and you can edit them if you want to. And if you don't want to edit, you can add new. I can click add new, can pull out the sensors, open and close them, and here we go, trigger the device. Oh, I found this sensor. And you can type in a custom name and hit save, find more sensors if you want, or click finished. You can enable the built-in glass break with a touch. You can then look for Z-Wave devices. Here's the Z-Wave devices. And again, you can add those in, and let me clear the device first. And you clear it. And when you're done, you can add the device. And when you're done, change the name if you'd like, hit save. And then we're going on to optimize the Z-Wave network. Again, this is a step that's really important for Z-Wave, but a lot of technicians perhaps either don't know it or maybe they skip it and it doesn't make the Z-Wave network work as well. So optimizing that network makes things really nice. Let's optimize all those pathways, make sure it's all working right. And then you can go on, you can view the network map and then pair Bluetooth. Let's pair those Bluetooth phones. Hey, Mr. Customer, give me your phone. Let's pair it up so you can have that touchless disarming. Okay, search for that Bluetooth phone, find the phone, click on it, make sure that the codes match, pair the device. You want to add users, then you can add users. Okay, again, typing all this stuff in manually, but it's taking you through step by step. Click add user, finished, finishing up, and you're all done. So very easy to use, very, very easy to use. And as you can see, this is the data I promised you from Parks Associates. Reasons for self-installing a security system. Number one reason was it saved money. Okay. Number two was it looked easy to install. Number three is I would better understand it if I installed it myself. Number three is I enjoy projects around the house. If you look at this, it's not until like the last ones about concerned an installer would damage my home or concerned an installer wouldn't do it right or don't like installers in my home. Those are the very bottom. That's not the reason why people don't want to DIY. Okay, the reason why people want to DIY is saving money, it looks easy, and they want to understand it better. So don't think of DIY as a threat to you. Think of DIY as an opportunity that's going to open up more customers to you and hopefully allow you to create a better customer experience. Now, questions. I'm sure we've got lots, or maybe not. Let me dive in here. Anything that stands out? One person, Mark, says, helps you compete against companies like SimpliSafe, who are taking a lot of customers. Yeah, that's a great question, a great point, Mark. Thank you for making that. There are a lot of DIY companies out there that are showing security, and if you, as a professional installer, are able to say, hey, I can do professional installation or DIY installation, either one works for you, works for me. If someone from SimpliSafe, if someone buys a SimpliSafe system, at least to my understanding, if they say, hey, you know what, I got halfway through this install and I'm not sure what to do, can you send someone out? I don't think SimpliSafe can do that. If they do, I'm sure they do it for a premium, but you could be able to do that. You've got the footprint, you've got the proper licensing, things like that. So let's see, other questions. Will the old image sensors work with the new board when it's available? Good question, Bill. Image sensors require an image sensor daughter card to be installed in the panel. So if you've got that image sensor daughter card, then it would work for both the old image sensors and the new image sensors. I believe they use the same protocol. So good question. Will this new installation procedure / workflow be available on older panels? Yes. So when you say older panels, they won't be available on the IQ Panel first generation, but the IQ Panel 2 that is currently being sold, currently in market, and currently in, hundreds of thousands of homes all across the United States, the ones that you've already installed for the past year, 2 years, yes, they can receive a software update that will allow them to update to this, and you'll be able to have this easy install wizard. So yes, absolutely. Good question, Mike. Was this video going to be available or data sheets? I forgot to mention that. We are recording today's webinar, and we will actually post this on our YouTube page, and you'll be able to get this later on. We'll also, Kelsey, will you make sure that you send the link to the webinar recording with the auto response tomorrow? Okay, cool. Yeah, so tomorrow there's going to be a kind of a follow-up email after this webinar, and we'll make sure that a link to this recording is included in that follow-up email. So thank you for that question. Kate asks, is there a way to get this setup wizard after setting up a few sensors? Can you start from the Z-Wave section and proceed from there? Good question, Kate. So if I understand you correctly, you're basically saying, hey, could I do a few things and then come back later and start where I left off? I believe it always goes through the system test just to make sure everything's working in the system. And then when you get to that stage where you're setting up security devices, I think you just hit skip. So it just skips that one step and then goes directly to Z-Wave. So it really should only be 2 steps to get back to Z-Wave. So hopefully that helps. Mike is eager for ETA on IQ Panel 2 with 345. We'll talk about that in a minute, Mike. Thank you for that comment. Will there be a Zigbee daughter card, or will it come with the IQ Panel 2 Plus? Good question, Eric. Zigbee, for those of you that don't know, is another ecosystem similar to Z-Wave. There's a lot of Zigbee devices out there, thermostats, lights, locks, things like that. We are not currently building any Zigbee chips in our cards. We've kind of backed the Z-Wave horse, and we've really appreciated the work that Z-Wave and Sigma Designs and the other companies, I guess, is it Sigma Designs that owns them now? I forget who now owns the Z-Wave Alliance, but we've really appreciated the amount of innovation and effort that they've gone into building the Z-Wave ecosystem. Zigbee has, however, come a long way, whether it's because of the competition of Z-Wave or because of all the stuff that's been happening, that Comcast has done with them. There is some great things that have happened with Z-Wave, and there's a lot of great Zigbee devices. And there's a lot of great Zigbee devices out there. Will we create a Zigbee card to go in the panel someday? Possibly. It's not something that we're offering currently, and we are not currently integrating with any Zigbee devices at the moment. But thank you very much for the question. Jason says this panel is installed on the homeowner's wall. Is that correct? It can be. If you choose to install it on the wall, you can. You could also do a table stand. The IQ Panel 2 is small enough and thin enough that you could put it on a table stand and it doesn't feel too awkward. I know if you have one of those older rubber button keypads or one of the older touch screens that's 2 inches thick, putting that on a table stand is not only bulky, but it feels weird. It takes up a lot of space. IQ Panel 2 doesn't feel that way. So whether you decided to go table stand or wall mount, either way looks great in a customer's home. So thank you for that, Jason. Bill, I was told in the early versions of IQ Panel 2 that early versions of the IQ Panel 2 would not be capable to upgrading to PowerG. What is the right answer? We're going to get to that in just a minute here, Bill, but the short answer is that is correct. PowerG will only be included in the IQ Panel 2 Plus. Jason's asking, does the panel keep the date, time, and temperature like the 2 gig? Jason, I believe you're asking about the time and date and temperature and things on the screen, on the home screen. And let me just exit out of here real quick and see if I can find a just nice picture of the home screen here so we can reference that. This will work. So if I believe you're asking, will the date and time appear on the screen? You can see right here, here's the date and the time. You can also see this just says 00 because when we did this particular film shoot, we didn't have the weather pushed to this panel. But this will show the current day's precipitation, sunny, cloudy, etc., as well as the high and low temperatures. And when you touch that, it'll bring up a little pop-up that shows you a 4-day weather forecast. So hopefully that answers your question well enough. Let's get back to where we were. And I think we're on to the next section. So the next section, and this is something that a lot of you have been asking about already, which I totally appreciate, is about the dual SRF support. Dual SRF is the ability to have 2 radio sensors or radio ecosystems, security radio ecosystems in it. Security radio frequency is what SRF stands for. So 2 security radio frequencies. In this particular case, PowerG and an S-line or the an encrypted 319.5 radio exist within the panel at the same time. Dual SRF allows you to keep your existing sensors. So if you walk into a home, I want you guys to all think about the panels that you've installed for the past several years, okay? All these panels that you've installed, maybe they've got 3G radios, but you've installed all these panels in the home, in your customers' homes for years, and many of them need to be upgraded to LTE. Well, you can go out and keep all the existing sensors without having to worry about replacing them. Some of you have got devices out there that are installed in homes that work on the 345 frequency, which is the frequency that Honeywell and 2 gig uses. Some of you have sensors that are installed on the 433 frequency. That's the frequency that DSC uses. Some of you have sensors that are installed on the 319.5 frequency, which might be an old Interlogic system, or it could be, it could be one of our first generation panels, or even the IQ Panel 2 with the encrypted 319.5. So the goal here is to allow you to keep all those existing sensors if you want, and be able to add new devices that are now, as you add new devices to the home, they would be PowerG encrypted sensors or S-Line encrypted sensors. This does still work with legacy life safety. So for those of you that understand the concept of a translator, let's say, for instance, you wanted to go take the IQ Panel 2 and install it in a home where there was a DSC panel already installed. If that home already had DSC smoke detectors, DSC carbon monoxide detectors, and it had a DSC door window sensor and motion sensor, you could reuse, if you put in a translator, you could reuse the door window sensor and the motion sensor, but not the smokes and carbons. The reason is there's a law in place that says if you're going to use a life safety device like a smoke detector or a carbon monoxide detector, it can't go through a third party like a translator. So you would have to replace those devices or make a decision not to have those devices monitored anymore. And that's a hard decision, especially for a customer who has been promised that you're going to take care of everything for them. And now they're going, hold on, now I got to shell out an extra $100, $200 for new smoke detectors. I thought this one was, perfectly good. Now you can give the customer the choice. Would you like to replace that sensor with a new one, or would you like to keep it? Because with the cards installed directly in the panel, which is an IQ Panel 2 Plus, and again, we'll talk about in a moment, you don't have a translator. So there's no third-party translating device in there, which means that all of the sensors, whether they're life safety or their security or their Z-Wave, anything, they're all talking directly to the panel. There's no translator involved. So no more translators. That means no more costs associated with translators. That means no more drawbacks associated with translators. And that means no more hassle with trying to program a translator. So some nice benefits there to the dual SRF. And of course, like I mentioned a moment ago, you can add new PowerG encrypted sensors. Let me show you the quick video that we have about this, and then we will get to questions. Hopefully that helped a little bit. So IQ Panel 2 Plus is coming soon. Several of you have asked, when are we going to see that in distribution? When are we going to be able to have that to be able to purchase? We have not released our official press release about IQ Panel 2 Plus and its availability date. However, I can let you guys in on a little secret. Since you're on our webinar and you guys are the chosen and elect few, those panels are actually already shipping to distribution in time for our launch date. So depending on whether or not your distributor has placed an order for them, and if they have not, I would recommend going over and saying, hey, have you placed an order for IQ Panel 2 Plus? We have informed all of our distribution partners that this is available for order now to ship. Now, I will tell you, IQ Panel 2 Plus with the Qualys S-Line radio and PowerG is the first to ship. Those are shipping now, and those are shipping to distribution. The distribution, because again, we have not officially made the availability date open yet, they may or may not be putting them on their shelves. I've heard of a couple distributors that are, so you may want to just check with them. Excuse me, water. I'm dying here. Too much talking. So again, talk with your distributor about that. There's a possibility you could pick up a PowerG panel even today. But again, that's very limited. We've only just barely started shipping those out to distribution in time for our official launch date, which I don't want to reveal yet because that's part of the press release we'll be doing shortly. But then you've also got two other flavors. There's the IQ Panel 2 Plus with PowerG that also includes a Honeywell and 2 gig radio. Now, this particular panel, the one in silver, the silver box here, will not work with Qualys' S-Line devices. It will not work with Interlogic devices. But if you've got existing Honeywell sensors or 2 gig sensors in the home, you will be able to use this panel with those and then add new PowerG sensors to it. And then the same thing with this panel in the red box that will work with PowerG as well as DSC devices. So any new DSC, any old DSC devices, legacy DSC devices that you have installed in the home, you'll be able to keep those and then add new devices with PowerG. And if you're not familiar with PowerG, I really recommend you getting in touch with your rep that's in the area for Johnson Controls is the parent company for DSC and owns PowerG technology. They will tell you some amazing things. And we're planning on a webinar, I believe it's in 2 weeks, that will talk about PowerG and the power of dual SRF and things like that. We'll be going specifically into PowerG and giving you all the sweet details on it. It is an amazing technology. Just as a quick little, 3 bullets, 4 times the range of legacy security sensors, and mega encryption and two-way communication. So there's some great advantages to all those things. And we'll talk about all those in a future webinar, but pretty cool stuff. Let's see. Mike is asking, I assume we can still use an RF translator for hardwire sensors. That is exactly right. Our Hardwire 16 device is encrypted and will allow you to use that with this gold box. So if you've got a hardwired system and you want to wire all those devices into that, you would then, those wired signals would then be translated into wireless signals that are encrypted and then communicate directly to the panel in the gold box. And those hardwire translators are available now and will work with the panels that are on the shelves right now. So good question. Let's see. Bill asks, oh, he's clarifying for Kelsey. Sorry about that. Yeah, will there still be a takeover module for wired sensors for the IQ 2 Plus? That is, again, that Hardwire 16 will work for the IQ Panel 2 Plus. However, you'll want to make sure that if you're doing a hardwired system, you can't do that with the silver box or the red box. The silver box speaks the Honeywell 2 gig legacy frequency, and the red box speaks the DSC frequency, legacy frequency. And the Hardwire 16 is only used on the Qualys S-Line frequencies. You'll want to make sure that when you buy that Hardwire 16, you're also buying it in conjunction with the gold box, which is PowerG and Qualys S-Line. So good question. Will the card say Honeywell 2 gig or DSC? There's no card on it. It's actually you'd have to make sure you look at the panel and buy the right box, the right color box, so gold, silver, or red. And then if you go inside the panel, if you're actually in the panel, you'll actually be able to go into system tests, and there's something called a daughter card test, and you'll be able to see which daughter card's installed by running that daughter card test. Hopefully that helps your answer your question, Bernice. So you won't be able to use IQ panel sensors with PowerG Honeywell 2 gig, just those sensors. That is correct, Bernice. So if you have let's say you've got a bunch of IQ panel Qualys sensors and you wanted to use that with this silver version of the panel, they would not work. You would need to use it with the gold version of IQ panel 2. That has the Qualys and the S-Line built into it. So Qualys sensors only, as well as, because this speaks 319.5, our encrypted S-Line works on it, but encrypted S-Line is also backwards compatible for Interlogics or any of those other companies that build 319 sensors. But our hope is that you would use, from an encryption standpoint, if I can get on a soapbox for a second here, there's kind of good, better, best when it comes to encryption. Good is a security system. It's good to have a security system. That's better than nothing, right? You need to have a security system that's going to work. Better is an encrypted security system and a security sensor technology. So our S-Line encryption is a layer of encryption on the legacy 319.5 frequency. Now, it doesn't go as far as PowerG. It doesn't have as much encryption as PowerG. It doesn't have some of the other features of PowerG, which is why we say that PowerG is the best. So good, better, best. Good is legacy security system. Better is Qualys S-Line 319 encrypted security system and sensors. And best is PowerG encrypted sensors with all the amazing features they have there. So as you are talking to your customers, and again, we'll get into this more in a webinar in 2 weeks, and we'll talk about how you position PowerG, how you can talk about PowerG, how you can build value in PowerG to the point where your customers are saying, I want PowerG sensors, and are willing to pay for them. We'll talk about that in a webinar in 2 weeks, and that should help with some of these things. But I appreciate you guys asking these questions now, because we definitely want to address them. All right. See whatever. What are the exact steps we need to take either on IQPanel or Alarm.com to make Alarm.com video interact with Qualys? Excellent question, Mark. I appreciate you asking that. So from a step standpoint, if you want to get live view or live answer on a panel in your home, the first thing you need to do is reach out to your Alarm.com rep. You need to let them know that you want to participate in the soft launch or beta of live view. They have to actually turn that on for you because they're not turning it on for everyone. They're just letting people who ask for it get it. But my understanding is they're letting anybody have it. So if you want it, you simply reach out to your Alarm.com rep and say, add me to the beta. And they'll do that. Once they add you to the beta, then the process is pretty simple. You would simply need to go to your Alarm.com customer page. So you'd have the customer log in, or you log in as the customer. And then under video, there is a section called settings. And under settings at the very bottom, there's an option that says show video on screen, I think it is. You know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull up my personal home account. I'm going to log in separately over here so you guys can't see my super secret password. I've got this other window in front of me, sorry. Thanks for being patient, everyone. I think this will help because I think it is a very simple process, but it's one that's not tremendously intuitive. So I want to make sure that you guys understand exactly how to do that. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click. So I'm logged into my account here, okay? And I click on video and I click on settings. And then inside settings at the very bottom, I can see this stream video to security panel screen. And I can click view, edit, and I click on this. And voila, here you can see my backyard camera, and it shows me which model it is, view at the panel, basement camera, view at the panel, doorbell, view at the panel. Oh, I forgot, I put one in the garage too. A garage, so I can see the inside of the garage, whether or not the doors open or closed, what cars are home, things like that. Kitchen, the utility room, and you can see here's the library. This is the 520. It's not compatible with view at the panel. So even if I check that, it's just going to show up as a blank camera and it's not going to work. Front door, same thing. I believe that this is different for me because I've got different access than you. I believe that for you guys, it won't actually even give you the option to show non-supported cameras. They won't even show up in the list. The other thing you should do is inside your settings, I go to video device info, okay, and I change my video device info to my doorbell camera. Okay. From here, there's an option, send push button notifications to the panel. Okay. So now I can get a little notification on my panel that says, hey, the doorbell's ringing. Okay. And that's how you do that. So hopefully that answers your question there. Let's see what else people are asking. I appreciate you guys being on the line. I know we're running out of time here, so bear with me. I want to make sure everyone's questions get answered. Will partitions be available soon, and how many partitions will be available? Robert, that is an excellent question, one that we're not quite prepared to share, but I will tell you it is very soon, and the number is 4. But I don't want to give you more details than that, but it is coming very soon. I also would like you guys, if you don't mind, I'm going to do a quick poll. What is the most exciting addition, now that you've seen this stuff, what is the most exciting addition, in your opinion, to the IQ Panel 2 software? Is it live view? Is it live answer? You can choose all that apply. Is it the easy install wizard? Is it the support for the dual SRF featuring PowerG? Or is it the other features that are already on the panel, like, the panel camera, Bluetooth, dual path, encryption, etc. This kind of gives us an idea of what kind of stuff is interesting to you guys, especially as we want to form the future webinars. If there's stuff you want to know more about, stuff you want to learn more about, stuff you want us to build more marketing materials for or sales materials for. We want to know what you're looking for so we can respond directly to those. And on that same note, if you guys have things you want to learn in a future webinar, we'd love to hear it. Type that into the chat section right now and say, hey, I would love to have a webinar dedicated specifically to fill in the blank. I would love to know more about Bluetooth. I'd love to learn more about, the panel camera and the disarm photos, or, tell me more about dual path, or I'd like just an overview of IQ Panel 2 and its features. We've done a lot of overview video or webinars in the past few weeks, which is why we've made this one a little bit more specific. And our next webinar coming up will be focusing specifically on dual SRF featuring PowerG. But if there's other things you want to know, we want to hear about it, because we definitely want to focus on those and give you guys the information that you're asking for. Thank you for filling out that poll. I'm going to go ahead and close this poll, and I've got one more question. And this is just as we wrap up here, I want to know if you feel fully trained on Qualys' products. And I'm not saying because we did a good job. I don't feel like we were training today. This is more sharing information that you can use in a sales and marketing atmosphere. But if you personally, or that your staff or your team or your technicians or your salespeople don't feel fully trained, we'd like to know. And if so, do you need more sales training? Do you want more technical training? And maybe you're still evaluating Qualys, but when you're ready, you'll let us know, and we would love to help you with that. We want to know what kind of training you're looking for, and if we can provide it, we'll reach back out to you guys and let you know what we need or what we can do for you, and do our best to help you. So hopefully you've got what you need. You're using stuff on the deal portal. Oh, I'm going to show you guys. Let me end this poll here in just a minute. Give you guys a second to finish voting. I want to show you a few more things. If you're not on our dealer portal now, you've got to get on there. Dealers.qualys.com. Kelsey, will you type that up and send that to everyone? Give them a link. Actually, give them a link to the login page if they don't have it. Yeah, the register page. Thank you. If you don't have login for the dealer portal right now, Kelsey's going to send a link to everyone for the registration form. You can fill that out. There is a wealth of information, including some of the new features like PowerG, the dual SRF, some of the new things. We've got a new commercial for IQ Panel 2 Plus. Even though it's not officially out in the market yet, we've got some stuff already on the dealer portal for it. For those of you that are building websites or social media things, we've got a lot of that out there already. I'm going to go ahead and close this poll and just show you one or two things, because I wanted to show you this stuff. So in our download section, we've got a new product flyer. We've got what is PowerG. We've got a new IQ Panel 2 Plus commercial, a die cut here. There's also new images of the IQ Panel in the IQ Panel image pack, new images of our security sensors and life safety sensors, new PowerG device images. So a lot of good stuff on our dealer portal. We've also updated our emulator to include live view. So the website-based emulator, if you go there to our website right now and access that, you'll be able to see the same stuff you saw before. Excuse me, the same stuff you saw before with the addition of live view. So now you can emulate the live view experience. So if you're showing this to a customer, you'll be able to, it's not streaming because we're already streaming something else right now. But this, if I wasn't streaming this and sharing a screen, it would show that video just fine. And then we're also updating the emulator that's on the iOS app and working on our Android app as well. So there's a lot of fun things happening at Qualys. So hopefully those help. Kelsey, any questions we missed or anything that's needed?
No, I answered a few questions. Right?
Okay, great. Well, excellent. Some really, really good questions. Kelsey's going to pick a few people that were asked particularly good questions and said some good things and reach out to you directly, and probably offer you a nice little prize as well for your participation. Thanks again for everyone for joining the webinar today. Again, this recording will be available tomorrow on our YouTube page, and you'll get a link to that sent to your email address. So watch for that and share that with other people. And we hope to see you in 2 weeks when we talk about dual SRF and PowerG, and help you understand the nuances there and how to sell PowerG and the dual SRF concept, and how to help bridge the past between bridge between the past and the future on this new product line. So thank you very much, everyone, and we look forward to talking to you soon.